Hey everybody, my name is Evan Freiberger and we have had quite the upgrade overnight. Last time we talked, this thing was just a slight risk, but now we are talking about a moderate risk for severe weather, and it's mainly going to be for a risk for a derecho, which is a line of storms potentially up and over 100 miles per hour. We're talking winds that are going to be stronger than a Category 1 hurricane, and that's what we're expecting with this storm to come. This little red area out over here in South Dakota going into Minnesota, this is a moderate risk. This is a 4 out of 5 for severe weather. Around that in the orange is a 3 out of 5, yellow 2 out of 5, green is a 1 out of 5. Now, coming over to our tornado risk, we're talking about a 5% for tornadoes. That means there's going to be a 5% chance of seeing a tornado within a 25-mile radius of you. And we're talking about Aberdeen, Clark, Clear Lake, Sioux Falls, Miller, Perry, Winter, Shakopee, Brooklyn Park, just south of St. Cloud. And here is the big kicker for tomorrow. We have a 45% chance of seeing significant winds of 45 miles per hour and above, and a 30% chance in the red in this little dashed region, and a 15% chance for those winds in the yellow. Keep in mind, 75 mile per hour winds is going to be enough to knock down trees, take out power. Definitely not the kind of storm you want to ignore. Our hail threat's going to be pretty minimal. Definitely could get some instances of 1-inch hail, maybe a little bit bigger than that as well. Here in the yellow, it's a 15% chance. But again, our main threat is going to be those damaging winds. And if you live in Clear Lake, Aberdeen, Clark, Miller, Sioux Falls, Pierre, Winter, Fergus Falls, just south of Bismarck, going into Lemon and Bowman there in North Dakota, South Dakota, going into Minnesota and parts of Iowa. You guys need to be weather aware as this storm fires up tomorrow. Now, diving in a little bit deeper on when we are expecting this storm, pushing this forward, we are going to have some showers as we move into about 7 a.m. out over here near Bloomington and Springfield, also by Des Moines as well. But that's not going to be our main storm. You see these storms firing over here near Billings, Montana. That is going to be our main event of the day. Starting off a little bit weaker, but as it reaches North and South Dakota, we're going to be talking about some stronger and stronger winds. And one of the ingredients that we look for to see if these storms are even going to be possible is our instability. And as you can see, we have plenty of that. We're talking about by the time that this storm starts to push into South Dakota, we could have extreme instability. Talking about 4 to 5, maybe even some pockets of 6,000 joules per kilogram, which is 6 times more than needed to sustain severe weather. And this is going to be a juiced atmosphere, ready for a storm to come through and put down a lot of wind. And as we go into about 1 to 2 p.m., our storm is going to be entering into southern North Dakota and northern South Dakota. And this is going to be when our enhanced risk starts, probably at around 2 p.m. tomorrow. So we'll be live on this channel with Storm Chasers to keep you guys in the know. So make sure that you are subscribed. But as we head over to our wind gusts, once we get into these white colors in lighter pink, they're kind of south of Bismarck, north of Rapid City, right here in this area. Let me circle it on the map. This little area right there, that is maxed out. We could be easily seeing 70 to 80, 90 plus mile per hour winds, maybe even some isolated areas of 100 mile per hour wind gusts as this thing continues to push off to the east. By around 3 p.m., 4 p.m., we could have a storm near Aberdeen and Miller that still has those max out winds. 5 p.m., 6 p.m., still very strong winds moving into the Minnesota, South Dakota border. Coming over to our precipitation future radar, you can see that we have a well-organized storm really starting to get together. But watch what happens as this moves into Minnesota. As I push this forward into about 8 p.m., you see how this line from about 6 to 8 p.m. really starts to bow out. Well, check this out. As we go over to our wind gusts, you can see as that bows out, almost this entire line segment has those maxed out winds, and potentially even still some very strong winds on a part of a storm that you wouldn't really think it would be on, kind of on the backside of this storm. So this is going to be a very classic derecho type storm. If this does actually get organized and do what this model is saying, we could be seeing at around 8 p.m. 70 to 80 mile per hour winds moving in through the Minnesota area. 10 p.m. is going to be getting a little bit weaker, but still some strong winds could be possible over here near La Crosse, Rochester. And by around 12 a.m., this really starts to fall apart. Now, given the fact that this is a July type event, there is definitely a chance that things can change, even over the short time from when you guys see this video and then when these storms start to fire. Maybe that goes a little bit further to the south. Maybe it goes a little bit further to the north. There's definitely an argument to be made that the models could have this wrong, but overall, the instability is going to be there. One of the things that we are also pretty confident is going to be there is this upper level flow, which will help initiate the storms initially. And in that severe and extreme Cape and instability environment, no matter where those storms form, they are going to have that damaging wind potential and potentially a high-end damaging wind potential. So it might be a little bit more isolated or maybe even a little bit more widespread than what this model is saying. But generally, we are expecting a windstorm and one that could potentially be very severe. That is why we have this moderate risk over there near Aberdeen, Miller, Clark, Clear Lake, and maybe could even still see significant winds all the way to Minneapolis, talking about widespread power outages with the potential of 1 million plus people could lose power as this comes through. Now, another thing that we do have to watch out for is also the threat for tornadoes. And as this pushes into this area, this red area, you can see that we start to see a little bit of escalation here with our lower level jet. This is the significant tornado parameter, and we are seeing a couple of areas here where this storm could be spinning. It could have that potential to do QLCS tornado spam, which unfortunately usually leads to a tornado outbreak, which will most likely be a lot of briefer tornadoes in a pretty localized cluster and area. But right as this thing really starts to spin up, we call this a meso low, and this meso low, or these mesoconvective systems, can kind of cause their own shear environment. And you can see here on our 850 millibar winds, we are going to be seeing those winds turn with height, and those winds are going to be increasing the higher you go up in the atmosphere, meaning that along the leading edge of this line, this complex, there could be these little tiny brief spin ups, and some of them might even be strong, but they're going to be very brief and happen at moment's notice. So if you get put in a tornado warning this day, make sure you get to your safe spot fast, because as you can see, this storm is going to be moving pretty quickly off to the east. If you get a tornado warning, it's not going to be long before that line gets to you. Another thing that we're going to have to watch out for is a little bit of more flooding. We had a little bit of flooding with our last event, and there's going to be more rain falling on top of already saturated spots, especially if we get this storm go over the same track of a lot of those heavy rainstorms we had yesterday. So on top of those winds, on top of the power outages, you might not be getting all those flood alerts because your phone might be dead or your TV might be off. Just if you live near a creek, make sure you are paying attention to its levels, as there could be a little bit of extra flooding depending on how much rain this storm drops, on top of the rain that was already fallen the day before. Now, another thing that will be particularly dangerous tomorrow as well is going to be those temperatures. Out in front of this storm, we are going to have heat indexes that are rising pretty much all the way up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going to be very hot and dangerously hot, and I cannot stress that enough. This is not the kind of heat you want to mess around with. Back down further to the south in the east in Illinois, 105 to 108 in the southeast, all the way up the east coast, going to have up into the hundreds, into about 107 degrees heat index, and then back over down here in Florida, the heat index is going to get up over 100 degrees as well. Texas, Dallas, Texas, you're going to start to feel the heat. You guys have been getting spared over the past month or so, but that's going to start to come to an end. As we go into the next day, you can see that that heat index still sticks around in this same area. You can see it's going to be cooler where that mesoscale convective system comes through, brings in all that wind, as it's going to leave an outflow boundary and some colder air. But further down to the south, this high pressure system is going to be locking in this not cold air, warm air. But then after a while, we're going to start to see a little bit of a shift. You can start to see those temperatures move a little bit further and a little bit further to the south as we get quite the low pressure system move into the Canadian northern United States, and that cools down things quite a bit. I mean, we could be back in the 80s and 70s across a large portion of the United States as we get into the first at around 4 p.m. So daylight heating is peak at this hour, but we're still only at around 70 to 80 degree temperatures. It is, however, still going to be pretty muggy out there, especially down here in the southeast, but a lot drier weather is coming for the Great Lakes and the Northeast, so be prepared for some really, really nice temperatures. That's going to be it for me tonight. I want you guys to be weather aware as the storm starts to pick up. We'll be live on this channel. We'll have storm chasers. We'll be breaking down the radar so you can know what's coming next. So make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.